trip.
I'm moving my hair on. Ask her.
They're got their earlier when they left Monday. Just there for
I know better. I just didn't have a choice.
all day tomorrow. And they go on.
The last time I saw him was health and I'm like,
Yeah.
are you serious right now? He literally was like, you need to know. Are you joking? Come on.
You're very important. Very important. You got a seat right here. There's a seat right there. There's one,
I've
two.
actually, I think I'm going out.
I was gonna say, I thought you were gonna go tomorrow.
No,
To be here for
I
tonight.
know, I got,
That was the last board meeting, I think.
Soho tomorrow night, I've got something Friday night, and I gotta get a game to the judge Friday and Saturday, sometime Sunday. I hope some neighbors drop dead at any moment. I've seen enough of it.
Randy and Dawn, this book was fun to be around Ian and Osceola, and they're significant years. We haven't been around them like ever since they were
Yep. Donna let Randy stay longer, and I figured she would Saturday night. She usually pulls him out earlier than that.
That's where I hoped you'd understand it was time for us to go to. I am in charge of the PowerPoint. For sure.
Go ahead and start.
It's the screen that has a full chart.
Yeah, I have the screen.
Can we go ahead and start?
Sure, I'll be the chair.
Go ahead. Go ahead, call to order, let's go.
What time is it? Call this meeting to order at 3:02. There you go, let's go. Well, good afternoon, Ms. Castillo and Mr. Thacker, Mr. Kruppenbacher, and members of the community. We are very excited tonight to have Dr. Fritz and Mrs. Bright from Volusia County here with us for our mid-year All Goals Stock Take. It's our opportunity to provide information to the board about our strategic plan, progress that's been made so far, additional challenges that we face. So you have two documents before you, board members, both the more detailed bullet points that talk specifically in more detail about some of the progress points that we're monitoring, as well as some next steps that we want to do. But we'll spend most of our time today talking about the information in the PowerPoint. And while in the past we've often had simply cabinet members kind of at the table, kind of driving this conversation, because it is such an important team effort, we felt like it was important to have more folks around the table today. So I'm going to turn it over now to our academic success, teaching and learning team, and anybody and everybody may have some input to share with you.
Good afternoon, board and Dr. Pace. I'm going to start with Goal 1, academic success, as Dr. Pace said, and Goal 1A. On your bullet points here, if we have more detail, as Dr. Pace said, and our key activities are listed there with our development of the curriculum unit plans and the really focusing on the standards alignment, the implementation of those curriculum unit plans, and differentiating our targeted support to every school and meeting the needs of the teachers so they can meet the needs of our students. So on this first slide, 1A is ensuring that every student receives a high-quality, standards-based instruction consistent across all grade levels and throughout the district. Whether I live in Kenansville and go to Harmony, whether I live out in Poinciana and go to Deerwood, we need to make sure that our curriculum is guaranteed and it's viable in every single classroom, K through 12. On this first slide, you're going to see, in keeping with our key activities, we are using our curriculum unit plan resources. And how do we monitor that? Through our learning cycles. And our teams, K through 12, go out to the schools, every single school, and we went through every single school in August through October. You'll see that we had 3,450 visits. And I'm very happy to say that 82% of the classrooms, when we went in, we saw evidence that the curriculum unit plans and those resources were being utilized. Also, very important to meeting the needs and having the students have the requisite amount of opportunities to master the standards, we are on pace. So 94% of our classrooms, when we went in them, they were on pace to meet the standards, have them introduced, have them give them more practice, and get them mastered prior to the FSA. And for our students utilizing the adopted textbook and materials, you can see that we still do have some more work to do there, but we are consistently working specifically with our coaches, specifically with our teachers, to make sure that we are vetting those materials and utilizing our adopted resources and things that are on grade level and above to meet the needs of our kids. I also want to call your attention to that right-hand column. Although it reads August to November, from October to November, in keeping with our key activities, we really targeted our support for the schools based on the needs. It might have been based on their formative assessment needs. It might have been a group grade level, a content area, a department. Within a school, it might have been the admin calling us and saying, hey, Jane, would you send your team out? Hey, Mr. Allen or Dr. Reinhardt, can you send your team out to come help us? And so we went out, but those are indicative of where we went to targeted classes and targeted schools, and you'll see that still the percentages are either greater than or right in line with that. On the next page, yes,
sorry,
ma'am.
I'm confused about the dates. So August through October is one set of visits. The August through November is targeted visits.
Is including our October to November visits that were targeted to a smaller group of schools.
And how were you targeting those specific schools? What was the reasoning behind?
So we targeted them based on, we might have noticed a formative assessment.
Okay.
We might have noticed with a phone call of them calling us and asking us to come out and support them.
Okay.
Okay?
But also, just to be clear with this, in August and also in January, the three assistant superintendents and their teams visit every single school, every single classroom. Following that, there's tiered support based on school grades,
Okay.
based on formative assessment data, based on perhaps we have a young teacher team or an inexperienced PLC that needs more additional support to make sure that we're meeting our high needs schools.
So based on the data you gather at the beginning of the year, you're going to target those specific schools.
Correct.
Understood. Thank you.
You're welcome. On the next slide, we have highlighted some of things from math within the elementary and the middle school grades, and I have Dr. Deary here too, and as I'm reading, if you would like to add, Dr. Deary, feel free to do so. Our formative data on the part of with our teachers, that helps them monitor student progress all the way along the way. That is showing that more consistency in our student performance. We have adjusted the order of our instruction with the standards, and we've adjusted that because of our new textbooks. We adopted a new textbook program, as you know, Pearson, for last year, beginning this year. But the scores, we're happy to report, are trending higher, especially in grade levels 2, 4, and 5 when compared to last year. And in middle school, we're very happy to report that we have made an alteration in our grade 6 math. And now all of our grade 6 students are provided that opportunity for acceleration with the grade 6 advanced. When you look at the two courses for grade 6 regular, prior with grade 6 regular and grade 6 advanced, there was really only the difference of 8 7th grade standards that were added to the grade 6 advanced. And so now every student has those opportunities, and we focus on that now. So we like to say in math that all roads lead to algebra, and so this way they have an even higher chance of having algebra at the 8th grade level. Anything else you'd like to add, Dr. Dillon? Okay. All right. Next one, I have Mrs. Long, our coordinator for science here, and I'd like to update you on science. She is new and coming in just a few weeks on the job, a couple months probably, and she's leading our vertical alignment, our alignment with our curriculum unit plans. She's looking at continually making sure that our formative assessment data is aligned, and our instructional support. If you were going to go into the classrooms now, you're going to notice even more engagement on the part of our students. In fact, the 3 pictures on the right are current this year pictures of children actually doing science. And our resource teachers, I alluded to this earlier with our key activities, but we have really differentiated our PD. We've listened to our teachers, we listened to our administrators and our coaches of what specific departments need, what specific grade levels need, what admin are seeing within that school, and so we are customizing to meet their needs so that they can then meet the students' instructional needs.
And one of the things that we had asked Cindy in particular to focus on early was elementary, because our elementary teachers and principals were not feeling like the materials that they had for science were really aligned to the standards. So Cindy has been working diligently with the team to go ahead and update those curriculum unit plans now, as opposed to even waiting until summer or for next year for implementation. We're doing some spiral review to get students ready for the F grades, FCAT or the FSA in science and in 5th and 8th grade, as well as our biology PLC. And then also she's working to embed our STEM work, whether it's Project Lead the Way, our STEM bus, so that those tasks that students are engaging in are also aligned to the standards. So a lot of good work happening there. It's a work in progress, but I feel really good about the direction that we're going. You know, you can already see that Tammy's been on board for over a year now and has kind of hit the ground running in math. And Mackenzie and Cindy are right behind, keeping up and going to catch that pace. So thank you.
And I'd also like to update you about literacy, and I have Miss Bertram here, Mackenzie. Mackenzie's brand new also. Thank you for that. She's also working on that vertical alignment, working with all of the K-12 curriculum and the formative assessments to make sure, again, those are aligned, and providing support to all of our teachers. We have not only, within ELA, you know that encompasses writing. We have had a very systematic approach to our standards-based writing training for all kindergarten through 10th grade teachers, 10th grade literacy teachers, and other select teachers, depending on what courses they're teaching or the needs of the school. Very happy about that. And part of our job as a district is to make sure that we are staying aligned with what the state is expecting us to do. And the state had a reading endorsement mandate that came down, and I'm proud to brag about our PD department and our literacy coaches and our administrators who are working hard to do that. And you'll see that more than 700 teachers completed Competency 1 for that reading endorsement, which really goes back to how they are increasing their own capacity to deliver that explicit systemic instruction. Is there anything else you'd like to add about that? Okay.
So what I just would remind the board is that strategy 1A was really about the what of teaching, making sure that what's being taught in our classrooms is aligned to the standards, the tasks are rigorous, and that we're using the appropriate curriculum across classrooms. 1B really brings us to the how. What are those high impact strategies that we want to see each and every day in student learning?
One of the hows with 1B is our mantra of read, write, talk, solve. And those, if I have all of those those in a task, that's a very engaging task. On the slide in front of you, you will see a snapshot from our learning cycle visits. And you will see that to get marked in the green, that was 59%. That was, to mark a yes there, that means that we saw at least one of the four, read, write, talk, or solve, occurring with 90% or more of the students in that class. 90% or more in that class. So you see that 59% of our classrooms had that. We had 17% who, 51% or more, were engaging in at least one of those. And we have some more work to do because we had 24% that we were not seeing that. Now, I will offer that this is a 5 to 10 minute snapshot, so it doesn't mean it wasn't ever occurring, but to mark it on for our learning cycle, we want to see it during that time period. Do you have a question, Ms. Christie?
So just because the time that you were there was only 5 minutes, so do the teachers do they know that you're coming, or are these surprise visits?
No, they typically know that we
And they know
are.
the time and everything?
They don't know what time,
But
no.
they know that at some point today I'm going to have a visit.
Some schools yes, and some schools no.
Okay.
Some principals opt to
Have it like
announce it
any
to their
other
staff,
day.
and then others opt not to. So just come on at any time.
Okay.
Okay. And on the next page, we have developed, we have a handout for you that was developed by our coordinators and our directors, and working with our K-12 resource teachers on Read, Write, Talk, Solve. What that looks like, what that sounds like, what the vocab, making sure that we are all speaking the same language on that.
Oh, you got to.
I'm sure Tanya has one for the record.
Other things that we have done with regard to Read, Write, Talk, Solve in our partnership with MED also, and our coordinators, and our resource teachers, we have gone out and customized smaller PDs, mini PDs, to focus our needs on what specific needs a teacher has, what a specific need for a department, or a grade level, or 1 or 2 teachers, whatever the need may be. And I really want to, I may want to, you two, Dr. Deary and Mrs. Reyes, feel free to chime in. We're so proud of the scaffolds that MED and math came up with for our L learners for the math formative assessments. This is step 1 toward providing those in our content areas, but it really set the bar high, so great job. Would you like to add something about that, Belinda?
I'm just thankful for the partnership and the team that we have, that we could collaborate in that way.
They're very, they're impressive. They have the cognates and then the English word. It was very nicely done.
I will chime in that we now have glossaries for them. So we started building these in-house, and now for instruction daily and for FSA and EOC assessments, the students are able to use content-based glossaries, and we were able to secure them, and they are being disseminated to schools as we speak. And we're working on just a short little video that teachers can watch on how to really implement the use of glossaries.
And just with this last bullet, our job is to support our teachers, support our administrators, support our coaches, so that they can meet the needs of students. And we're ensuring that by the continuity, building the capacity across the district, so that they can meet the needs of all children. At this point, I will turn it over to Mr. Allen.
Thank you very much, Dr. Briskus. So just to reorient us one more time, 1A really has to do with the what is being taught, and 1B is the how. 1C deals with ensuring that schools maintain high-quality systems to close achievement gaps for students that are not achieving mastery, particularly our lower achievement subgroups. So a big piece of this is our MTSS structures at the school. MTSS stands for Multi-Tiered Systems of Support. Every school has an MTSS team. They analyze and problem solve to try to fill in the gaps of those learners where we know that they still need help. So one of the things the district level has done to support that is to develop an MTSS handbook with resources and materials. That's been a huge effort in part of a lot of different departments, including curriculum instruction, our research and evaluation department, as well as our student services, to get everything sort of in one site. And not just in one site, but we also wanted it very accessible to our schools, so we utilized SharePoint site. As you can see on the slide there, there's a screenshot of our MTSS handbook. It's very user-friendly. It's at the fingertips of all of our stakeholders district-wide 24/7. So another thing that we have done at the district level to support our MTSS teams is training. So we just 2 weeks ago offered our second MTSS training. Every school sent an administrator, counselor, and at least one academic coach to the training. So half day was kind of big group. Secondary, that's the picture you see there is actually of panel discussion. Those are folks from the school that are practitioners and talking about best practice in their schools. So that was part of the half-day training. Then the other half-day was included small group and smaller individual trainings specific to the needs of the schools. So they got to choose if they wanted to go to particular sessions. That was the other half of the day.
Like breakout groups? Like breakout groups?
Breakout sessions, correct. Right.
Mike, two quick questions. On the SharePoint, did we roll that out this year, or is it out prior?
We did. Renee, you want to talk a little more about what you guys have done?
The SharePoint was there prior, but it needed to be completely updated. with streamlining the resources and retraining where to find the resources, and we updated everything and took them through a scavenger hunt in one of the breakout sessions.
Okay. And then you're able to measure the utilization and access of that, so we know how often people are accessing the resources, everything's available, and we can measure the effectiveness of this tool.
Well, we would work together with our partners over in MITD who hold the
Sure.
SharePoint site, but when we were renovating, we took down the old for less than a week to upload the new, and we were inundated with phone calls and emails. Where's the stuff? And it said it's under construction, so we were happy to know that it was being sought for.
Good. Obviously, the reason I ask, anytime we do something new with technology, there's an adoption curve and people getting used to it, and if people don't understand it, it's not intuitive, then they move away from it. And then obviously having the resources but not being accessed then becomes a barrier to success. So as long as we know that it's working and the tool is laid out in an effective manner that's enabling people to access what we're wanting to, and we can measure that, then good.
And those were our improvements that we were making.
Sure.
It was starting to become cumbersome to find each of the resources, so it's been completely realigned and streamlined for
Good.
better access.
Good.
I have an additional question with regards to the conference. Could you, just based on what you just told me, the hope is you send out ambassadors, I guess, to this training, and they're supposed to teach back to their schools, right? So how are we measuring that that's being done? Do we have any way of confirming that the teach backs are being done, that the training is taking effect?
You want to talk about your site visits?
Sure. So part of one of the key activities that we said we were going to do, one of the milestones to meet the key activities, is that we are visiting each of the schools'
Yeah.
MTSS team meetings so that we can observe their interactions with their school-based team and provide feedback and ongoing support. And we've gotten to about half of the schools so far, at least half of the schools, and we've been asked now to come back and provide additional support to make sure that we're refining those processes that the individual school needs.
So it's observation based?
It is observation.
Okay, thank you.
And additionally, all roads lead through the paperwork process. So, and we have new requirements by the state for coding Tier 2 students and Tier 3 students. And so we are tracking the codings in focus along with the state and cross-referencing those reports, and the REA department is helping us with that. And then also the students who need to move on to evaluation, which have proven that Tier 2 was not enough, Tier 3, we tried to turn every stone to meet their needs. They now need to go on for evaluation. Each year we do track that number of how many packets have made it to evaluation and what is the hit rate, if you would call it that, of which students qualify and which don't qualify.
So if we see real disproportionate numbers of one school or the other, we investigate further.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so yeah, go to the next slide, please. Okay, so another way that we are working to improve endeavors for 1C is through data. I think as board, as you know, we have a new data platform that we are utilizing both at the district level and school level, known as School City. So we are now able to better administer, collect, and disaggregate data better than ever before. For instance, the math and ELA formative assessments that Dr. Respis just talked about, that now is all run through School City. And so we can better identify strengths and weaknesses, areas of student mastery, and then also anything that potentially needs reteach activities. It can be done much more easily now. A real game-changing effort for us, which actually started last year but has really been refined this year, is through our research, accountability, and evaluation departments. They take the information from School City that we have, but also collect other pieces of information, such as secondary acceleration numbers for each school, attendance, behavior data from each school, and we put it all in one little dashboard. So it's one piece of paper, or of course it's electronic too, that the schools can pull it up. And that's the picture that you see there. We call it our stock take form. So the stock take form is utilized in our school stock takes, but is also utilized in our MTSS meetings. So it gives the principal and the stakeholders at the school every single month most up-to-date data that they can use for their problem-solving processes.
I think it's important, and I have a copy of a full stock take because obviously it's hard to fit here. This is data that our REA team compiles and provides to the school so that when they come to their school improvement plan meetings, their stock take meetings, or their MTSS meetings, they're not having to look or hunt or search for data. Instead, it's all about problem solving. We already know what the data says. We've looked at it ahead of time, so what are we going to do about the data? Very much like I've tried to drive our stock take process that we do internally to prepare for the board. So we're not spending a lot of time talking about what does the data say. We're talking about what are we going to do about the data. And as you can see from this particular example of a stock take form, it includes both student achievement data, their baselines from last year's FSA, current formative data, the learning cycle data that were there, but also some of our human capital data that we believe is important because of that critical connection between goals 1 and goals 2, whether we're talking about absenteeism or teacher observation data, because we know that all of those things, matter. Leah and her team has just done some additional research in REA, and they've pinned it down that a student with 5 referrals is likely to end up being below proficient on the FSA based on past results. And so, we're able to now share that information with the school to say, these are targets that you need to be looking for in terms of which of your students need more support to help you achieve their goals. Because if they're getting referrals, they're out of class, they're being disciplined, they're not learning. And so what are we going to do about it? Just as an example.
Dr. Pace, are you aware how much of this is manual or automated with data sources going in to create this? And I know you may not know at that level, maybe from REA, just is this something that...
Leah?
We automate it, part of it is automated through School City, but a lot of them come from different databases that we have access to. So it's a mixed bag. We dedicate about 3 days a month to pull all the data and get it in the form as well.
Is DA data average?
District average.
District, okay. So this is just our district.
Yes, this
coming
is
out of
actually a
school.
form from a school that we just took the name off.
That's fine.
Okay, so this is per school.
With School City, do we have the ability to broaden the average from district average to, I'm assuming other people in Florida and other school districts use this, or not?
The challenge is that our formative assessments and our learning cycle tool are unique to our district, so we can't compare apples to apples with that. Where we do compare apples to apples is obviously on the FSA, but because that's a summative measure, not a formative measure, it's there as a baseline, but it's not helping us to drive all of our decisions.
Okay. All right, unless there's any questions, I'll turn it over to Dr. Reinhardt.
Wonderful, thank you. As we look at strategy 1D, you'll see that this is all about our acceleration opportunities to help guide kids to whether the road is leading to college, whether the road is leading to a career. We want them to be ready for post-secondary. We want them to be ready for after high school. So you'll see we have 3 key activities there that we really focus on. The first one deals with AP and dual enrollment. And the second one is different college and career pathways. And then the third one is we're really trying to strengthen our STEM and CTE opportunities. So this first slide that you'll see, we've been tracking for quite a while and presenting you with data about our AP, our advanced placement numbers, and giving kids access to those courses. And so for the last 3 years, we've really talked about how we've increased access. But what we've recognized in the last few years is now kids have access, but we need to really focus on success, that we've not gotten percentage pass rates where we want them. So our range of pass rates are anywhere from some exams are at 36% pass rate in the district to we have exams that are at 91%. So we know we need to really focus on that. So the kind of some key things here, we did for the first time ever this summer a 3-day AP symposium. We invited all of our AP teachers in. We did a follow-up to those 3 days in October at our PD day to really focus on the needs of those AP teachers. We wanted to make sure that they had access to all the new College Board resources that are available. They have curriculum binders, which is really College Board's attempt at trying to say, here are the the topics that you should be teaching, and here's sort of the pace and the way you should be teaching them. So very similar to our curriculum unit plans, but it came from College Board. And also there's a lot of online resources. So we've got AP Classroom. This enables kids to be able to practice certain skills online and to get feedback from their teachers. They can be assigned by the teachers. There's also released exams available to them there, so teachers have access to be able to actually pull authentic AP questions to assign to kids. Something else that we've done this year that we think is going to really, it's upcoming, but we've had them develop a mock exam schedule for all of our high schools. We've built that, the same window in for all the high schools. They're going to be administering these mock exams during the school day. So in the past, we had some schools that would do it on Saturday, some did it during the school day, some sort of spread it out over 4 days. So we've really gotten consistent with that. We want kids to have this authentic experience. We're doing that about a month prior to the actual AP exam, so that will give us enough time to get them graded and to be able to give kids feedback and time for reteaching and really going over those concepts or skills that they still need to really hone in on.
And College Board's done an exceptional job of adding resources and really improving what they provide to give guidance to teachers about the content of what should be in the classroom, how it's going to be tested, and how kids should be given opportunities to practice. The task that Laura and Vicki and the rest of the team has been to make sure that it's being used consistently. Just because they have access to the curriculum doesn't mean they're going to use it. So that's something that they've been really following back up on to say, hey, where's your curriculum binder from AP? Don't teach what you taught last year. Let's make sure that you're up to date and current so that all of our students are getting that opportunity for success.
So we actually have one of my resource teachers is assigned to AP, and she's walked AP classrooms with Vicki. They've gone to every school to just try to ease some of that. You know, here's the curriculum, the binder, what do you need, how do you need help and support? Are you giving kids access to that? We want the kids to have it in their hands too. We've created Teams accounts for the teachers to share across their electronic PLCs. That's probably one of the hardest things is for the teachers to be able to collaborate. So a lot of good things. We're very hopeful this year that that's going to pay off.
May I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Earlier, you said that there was a huge disparate difference with regards to the test. You have 30%, lowest, high, 90%. Does that depend on instructor? Does it depend on the subject being taught? What's the disparity there?
I would say yes to all of. I would say yes to all of those things.
It's a mixture of.
Yeah.
Okay.
So one of our lowest happens to be physics. Very, very, high level concepts, a lot of math involved. And so, we're continuing to, focus
What's
on
the pass rate on human geography?
You gotta grumble over here. Physics.
Okay, so follow-up question with regards to that, and you're probably already putting these into place, I'm sure, but based on the past exam results, are we then intervening with the teachers and help? I mean, obviously part of it is giving them the curriculum and ensuring that they're teaching to the actual, I mean, I don't want to say teaching to the test, but teaching to the test.
To the concepts that are being assessed on that test. That is exactly, and that's the beauty of the binder that they've never had before. That's not really, when a million years ago when I taught it, we had what we called the Acorn book, which was this, it was like a little list of topics, but this is so much more detailed, so much richer for the teacher and support. But it is brand new, and some of them, the AP Human Geography, they've just changed that course significantly this year.
So we've got a good pass rate on that one.
Well, I haven't given it.
I'm just wondering.
Is it because
maybe
Autumn took it last year, and I'm telling you,
I will talk to you.
It wasn't easy.
I think that when Kelly and I walked each of the high schools, the administrator responsible for AP walked with us in almost every case. And Kelly is very strong in giving feedback and having a conversation with a teacher. That course exam description binder tells them exactly what will be tested. It's kind of hard to...
The concept.
And she would not see that happening. She coached the administrator on the feedback for the teacher. So it has kind of become a cycle where we've worked with them, and they are now learning to give feedback. This was new to everybody this year because we've never had the binder before.
So we'll be able to see the results this year. I have another follow-up question. Just because I'm a parent of a child who took AP, and I don't know that she was very successful, I think she took human geography last year, incidentally. So I know that as a parent, I don't know that I was prepared enough to help her with that, and I don't know that my child was prepared enough to understand this is exceptionally important. Like, are we having those, I don't even know the answer to this. Maybe it's just me. This is anecdotal. This isn't real evidence. But how are we preparing the students to make that transition from being, probably high-level performers in an honors class, and then it's like AP is not the same as an honors class. How can we communicate that better to the parents, to the students, so that because it's not all the teachers,
No, yeah, absolutely.
It's a group effort.
And that AP Human Geography is a great example. That's usually their first exposure to an AP exam, so sometimes that's a little traumatic. I know that we've created, using social media, using Remind, we've created Remind accounts to kind of just work to help kids, support kids. Kelly monitors some of those. The teachers monitor that with test-taking tips, strategies on how to study better. A problem of the week kind of thing, so they're so that they can continue to work on that. We have had at some of our schools like AP information nights.
There is that.
To get parents. But I think the best tool that we just have that we're really using this year is this online resource where kids can go on and practice. So whether it's having to write and their writing responses, the teachers assign. Our fear was that we were going to assign too many things. So I don't want kids also to go home and have 6 hours of AP homework every night.
It's a college level course, though. So
well, I know, but I also don't want them to be so discouraged. Like it's a balance. It's a balance.
Yeah.
I hear you. I don't want them to say, "Oh, I don't have to do any work either."
Right.
It's just going to come. So, but practicing those skills, whether it's a calculus problem, whether it's writing for the AP Human Geography to look for those trends across all the units that they've studied, that's what we're trying.
And the practice test online, is that new this year? Or is that part of the
It's called Personal Progress Check.
personal progress check? Yeah.
And it is new. It's all part of the new online component from College Board.
Okay.
Teachers, we really, in the summer for the 3-day symposium, one of the things that we were afraid of is that they would just give all of these personal progress checks. And if you're taking 3 AP classes, then that means you might have 150 problems to do at night.
Yeah.
So we've really worked hard for them to target those personal progress checks in areas of need for students. So yours may look different from somebody else's in the ones that you need to work on. And then they can go in and give the kids feedback through the system.
Okay. What I think I heard you asking, Ms. Castillo, was could we do a better job educating parents and students about the expectations of advanced placement?
Yeah.
And I definitely think that's something that we could do to take this to the next level. This year, because so many of the curriculum resources were new, our push was to get that information in the hands of our teachers and then to follow up and provide the support to make sure it's being implemented. But I think that's definitely where we could take this strategy moving forward into the spring and summer as we're starting to schedule kids.
Right.
And even, August back to school nights, open house, let's have a session, a seminar specifically for parents and students of AP. Is that right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I know we put a lot of focus on what teachers can do better, but I think, again, this is we all are in this together, right?
And I feel certain you'll let me know if your kids haven't heard about PPEs yet, that you're going to let me know.
Well, and it also aligns with Goal 4. So
Yeah.
Mr. Phelps is over there taking notes for us. Got it.
So just a quick, first of all, thank you, because a lot of your questions were things I was thinking, but you did a great job of walking through those. I think we would all agree that if Dr. Fritz were still with us, we'd have 100% pass rate in all AP schools. Am I right, Scott? You owe me.
We have a great team.
You already got the job.
Yeah, exactly. Ida, we miss him. Do you have benchmarks put in place for some of these gaps that Terry was hitting on with regard to pass rates in these various elements or various classes, to where you say, okay, 36% pass rate in one, this year we're looking to bridge that gap? You have very specific measurements in place that we can look at, right?
And we
So
also are looking at and really taking advantage of the level of expertise. So those teachers who've had higher pass rates in a particular course, we're asking to lead and be an instrumental part of the EPLCs, the electronic TLCs for those groups, because we know that we can build on some of that success.
Yeah.
And then there are also those critical conversations if you've taught the class for several years and your pass rate is not improving. That decisions need to be made as we're working on master schedules.
Absolutely.
Yeah, agree wholeheartedly. Thank you. And the comment you made at the beginning, access and success, and those two different variables being so important. For a number of years, we've worked on expanding access for students. And maybe we say we've succeeded to some extent in that regard, but if they're not able to pass and we're not setting the right expectations and not communicating that properly, I think we're setting ourselves and our families up for disappointment and failure that's not really fair or understandable. So I think layering that in is the right approach.
Thank you.
I do want to also just comment, I failed to say, REA in the back, thank you for this, by the way, and I think, Mr. Allen, you were presenting on this. We know that we really pride ourselves in making sure that we make informed decisions based on data. And I know that even though I asked the question and you answered specifically about the time that it takes, I don't want that to just slip on by. I genuinely appreciate the fact that REA is spending so much time to make sure this is put together. Obviously, the more we can automate processes, the better off we are. That's why I asked that. But I appreciate the work that the department's putting into creating this. And then I appreciate the fact that we're being very intentional about using it to guide important decisions and discussions around what needs to happen every day. So I didn't want to let
I know
that
we're giving
pass
you a
by.
lot of information and a lot of paper, but I felt like it was important to show you what we're talking about here because the team's doing some pretty amazing work.
What's the stipend for an AP teacher?
It all depends on their success rate.
What can it be, maximum?
$50 a test still?
Yeah,
Up to
but there's no cap,
$2,500?
so
Okay.
it's capped by how many students they have. If
$50.
For a student who passes the test.
who gets a 3 or
Gotcha. Okay.
Mr. Weishire, on the stock take document, the 3 assistant soups, we have talked all together about how much it has helped us focus our support for the school and working directly with the individual principals and APs to help them look at where their focus needs to be. It's been amazing.
I would benefit, and maybe my peers would as well, I would benefit from sitting with one or all of you to just kind of talk through, now that you have the data, how do you review it and how do you begin to discuss the
Yeah.
implementation and improvement on it?
Yeah.
I can theorize around it, but I'd like to hear from one or all of you guys at some point specifically about how you now are using it as a tool.
Sure.
I will just kind of finish off this slide by talking about dual enrollment that we've kind of focused on. Similar, we recognize that these programs are both excellent. AP is very good, dual enrollment is also very good. So how do we help kids? How do we increase access and success for our students in the dual enrollment program? So you'll just see some key data points there that our fall enrollment, which is always our largest enrollment. That's when the majority of new students go in. That from 2018, we had a little over 1,000 students in the fall to increasing to almost 1,200 in 2019, an 18% increase. We did notice, though, specifically as we started looking at our spring enrollments, that it was sort of, we had not focused as much as we should there. So what you'll see here is really an intentional effort by our schools to really track data very carefully, looking at what students are eligible for dual enrollment, so starting with those GPAs, and then trying to track all the different pieces. They have to have an application in place, they have to have a PERT score for ELA and mathematics, and so really starting those processes this year, you see an increase in the number of applicants in 2019 from 479 to 727 in this last spring, but also an increase in acceptances. We've got work to do, but we did increase our acceptances in the spring 26%. So it's what we were able to do with the work with our wonderful partners at Valencia is they've actually provided us with data that I could give back to the high schools that said, well, Tim didn't get in and this is the piece he was missing. So we really could dig down deeply to figure out what kinds of structures and things can be put in place. And Valencia has been instrumental in really supporting us. They've brought people in to do like PERT boot camps, parent nights to help parents and communities understand better what is dual enrollment. For some folks, that term is foreign. They're like, that doesn't even mean anything.
There's
to me.
also not a confusion, but amongst the parents that I hang out with, the benefits of dual enrollment versus AP seems to be a piece that everyone's really confused about. So I don't know if we can talk a little bit more about that, because I know a lot of parents are confused about what the differences are.
And I think it's a great, it's kind of back to your parent education. I know our high schools do have nights where they'll try to explain that.
Yeah.
AP, dual enrollment, how the benefits to those different programs. So
And
more
you'll-
work on that maybe.
And so you may recall too, Dr. Pace, at our strategic planning workshop, I touched on this and the idea of at what point do we call any one of these areas success, right? So we're taking these incremental approaches, we would say, well, we wouldn't say success is 100% students dual enrollment because that's not the right pathway, right? Dual enrollment is not the right answer, and for others it's going to be career and technical, or it's going to be something different, military, so on and so forth. But what I think, and Mr. Cook, you were with me when we did the presentation at Liberty Point Siena. We talked about making sure the parents really understand what is the right pathway and what isn't for their students, and knowing it early enough so that they can start to guide and direct them in the right direction. But I think it would be helpful, and maybe you guys have it and I just don't know about it. What's the big picture profile for us in that, and how do we begin to look at the buckets long term? So we would say we want X percentage of our students dual enrollment, we want X percentage in AP, we want X percentage, so on and so forth. Because we look at it in the incremental piece, and we say year by year we want this, over 3 years we want that. But at what point does the Osceola School District say, by big picture concept, we call this success? This is what real success looks like. It would be like we would say, 100% graduation rate. We know, right? In theory, that's the target, right? And so we can say this year we want to increase 2% or 3% or whatever it might be, but we know until we get to the 100% we're not there. And I think the same could be true, this is at least my opinion off the top, same could be true here for a board in particular, and I think for you guys in implementing all of this, but knowing what the big picture long-term target really is, as opposed to just looking at the micro year-by-year change or delta that we're looking for. And maybe you have it, and I've just said everything that you're like, no, it already exists, here it is. But
well, if the board would allow, particularly because where we are on time with Goal 1, where we've already 45 minutes in, the next few slides talk specifically about our college and career shines work, great increase in the DIP participation. We continue to increase in CTE, our graduation rates, which you guys have already been through. And then if you'll look over on slide 16, maybe take us there. I think I can kind of get to where you are and potentially wrap up Goal 1, not to take away from any of the board's questions or discussion, but I do want to make sure we get to our other goals as well. Where we are right now with the projected increases in graduation and acceleration brings us to 34 points to an A as a school district. And we know that the accountability system isn't everything, but we do know that that is important to our community and our efforts to help contribute to economic prosperity and growth and development here. Because those are the things that people ask, and those are the things that people look at. 90% graduation rate, great. Second in Central Florida, even better. But let's talk about, from a district perspective, what it would take. And so this is what we're targeting for success. We know that we have room to grow in our learning gains, both math and ELA, and that's a priority. We've talked for a long time about math being an area of concern for us. We start in third grade about 10 points below the state average, and we're still there in algebra. We catch kids up by the time we get to graduation, but we really want to move that number. And then this also goes down to the fact that while overall our district average in science is 54%, that's an area where basically we've stayed stagnant. Our elementary proficiency is only 49%. So that's one of the reasons why I targeted Cindy's efforts there. If you'll look on slide 17, it talks specifically about this acceleration piece. And as we celebrated this past summer, middle school acceleration is now from 59% to 80%. But high school acceleration, while it's improved every year, is still only 52%. And to me, that's a very important number, because it's not just about demonstrating that you're ready for college. It's college or career. And if you'll look at the next page in particular, I think this gets closer perhaps to your question, Mr. Weissayer. What is our target? What is our goal? That's one of the questions I asked all of our principals in July at our Welcome Back, and again just this last month as we came together in January to look at our data. Right now, 69% of our students in high school are currently enrolled in some form of acceleration. They're taking an advanced placement class, they're enrolled in dual enrollment, they're in a CTE class that has an opportunity to earn an industry certification, or they're enrolled in International Baccalaureate, our district's 4 pathways. But that's 69%. And what that number says to me, we're saying to parents, if your child graduates with a passing score in an AP exam, a passing score in an dual enrollment class or in an IB exam, or an industry certification, they have evidence in their back pocket that they are college or career ready in some respects. What number is the right number? 100% is the right number for us to get to. But our current number is 52%, we know is still too low. But I feel like with 69% of our students enrolled in that piece, we're still aggressively working to make sure that other kids are taking the extra credit opportunities or credit recover opportunities to get ready for graduation. We're moving in the right direction. But eventually, we want to say that basically 100% of our kids have an opportunity to have evidence when they graduate from high school that they're college or career ready. And that's what that number really gets to. So that's my target as your superintendent. Make sense?
Yes.
Any other questions about
And I
academic
appreciate
success?
that quick scroll through the slides, Dr. Pace. Not that you all weren't
I'm
very
modeling
engaging.
for my team.
You were very engaging.
All right, that brings us into goal 2, talent management, and we'll have a change of faces here at the table.
I'll just, while they're changing, what I was going to say was that I wanted to give a shout out to Mr. Hickey because he did do a very good job of explaining the difference between dual enrollment and AP at the 9th grade orientation.
That's what we want every
That was
principal to
last
do.
year, and then we're going again on Thursday night.
I will tell you also, board members, as you look through, you'll see some additional formative data. We didn't go over that at length. These are new formative assessment exams. They measure different standards along the way, but our team is tracking those very carefully and going over those on a regular basis. That's Doc takes at mid-year meetings with our principals. Okay? And as you have questions, as you look at this in more detail, happy to come back and talk with you individually. All right, so in all the essence of time, we're going to move quickly on then to our goal 2, talent management, which, as we have said from the very beginning, is so closely linked to everything that we do. It takes great people, our best resources, doing the work in order to achieve all of the rest of our goals. So, Tammy?
Thank you, Dr. Pace, and thank you, Board, for always supporting and just really seeing the correlation between the academic success and talent management. It means a lot to our Human Resources Department and our Professional Development Department, and I think we've made great strides in our new plan and over our last 3 plans, so we're excited to see where we are going. We do have a new team member, which many of you may recognize, and I might have stole her from Dr. Pace's office. So she is heading up our attracting quality candidates to decrease vacancies. Ms. Franceschi is still here, and I am thankful for that because she really has been, I think we're probably the only 2 that have sat up here every single time.
Yes, for talent management.
For talent management, providing the high quality professional development, and definitely she'll touch on your listening tours and what we're doing there to do better in our professional development world. And then we have someone that's double dipping here. You've seen her in Goal 1, and now she's back in Goal 2 and doing great things to help
Coming
with
back
our
for number
teacher
3.
mentor program. So with that being said, Angel's going to kick us off with 2A.
Thank you. Good afternoon, board members. Dr. Pace. To attract quality candidates, the talent management team has to become creative in our recruitment solutions and think outside the box this year. We have increased our social media aspects with advertising, job fairs, HR happenings throughout the district. Our Facebook social followers has increased by 7%, and our LinkedIn followers is up to 76%. We have worked over the last couple months to secure a partnership with Frontline that will allow us access to over 189,000 candidates who have an interest in teaching. They're across the U.S. It allows us access to post jobs that we have available for teachers, and I believe and support staff postings to give us a broader database, so to speak. We've created a new plan for internships for current support staff employees, for those paras out there that have a bachelor's degree that are interested in becoming a teacher. We would hope to get the board's support in that to continue that process to secure funding for
One
that.
of the other challenges is for our peers who may not have their 4-year degree, but who want to get it through UCF or through another program, there's that junior and senior internship requirement. In the past, they've had to take a leave of absence in order to complete their internships. We have agreement from UCF, and as long as the board continues in support, it is my recommendation that we go ahead and keep people on staff, pay them their regular salary, sub in for what they currently were doing while they're doing their internship, as long as they commit to coming back and teaching with us. It's been hugely successful. I don't know if you guys remember, but our paraprofessional, who was the district's school-related employee of the year 2 years ago, would love to get her degree in ESE. And when I saw her this summer, that's what she said. I can't stop working for a semester to complete my internship. So UCF is willing, as long as the board is on board, for us to pay that person's salary during that time and have them come back and be able to contribute even more.
That's great. I'm on board.
Well, I can tell them to fund the
I kind of thought you might be.
Thank you. We're excited about it. Thank you, Dr. Pace. And with that, this past summer, we assisted 62 professional support staff with transitioning into teaching positions. Our recruitment incentives that we have for people that recruit former employees to come work with them, and securing 31 instructional positions this past year, which 7 of those were math teachers, which we all know we need math teachers.
So it's small, but everyone counts.
We've created and developed a new internal transfer process that we're hoping for approval shortly, and then we'll roll that out to the schools. We've partnershiped with Test Camp and NavaEd to assist current teachers in preparing for the general knowledge test. A lot of the teachers need a little bit of extra assistance in preparing for that test, and both of these companies guarantee that they'll help them pass the test. And it's of no cost to the teachers. We've also attended, Greg and Diana have attended various job fairs to recruit high-quality workforce, including the OrlandoJobs.com and the Diversity Job Fair. We have several pop-up job fairs coming up over the next couple weeks. And we've got some recruitment trips that Greg's going on to get some high-quality teachers.
I'm sure we've been down this before, but just what are, kind of what's the ROI on some of these things that we're doing locally? I'm going to assume these that you've listed were local. I see OrlandoJobs.com, but were the other 2 local as well? I mean,
the other 2 that Angel mentioned there are local. One of the things about when we do either go out of the region or out of state, because of the lack of folks who are graduating from colleges of education, it's the only opportunity really that we have to get in front of people who went to college, said, I want to be a teacher, become teacher trained, and are now looking for a job. So while the return on investment definitely isn't what it was, I would say 15 years ago, I think it's still an important piece of what we do. We've definitely in the last few years done a lot more locally in working with folks coming through an alternative route to certification, and also kind of in general job fairs, going out and talking with the public about, hey, have you ever thought about teaching, and trying to guide them through that process.
But one of the other things is Greg develops his recruitment plan that we present to you each and every year for your approval. We're looking at those places that we've been and had success in not only offering contracts, but actually getting people in the door on the first day of school in August. But at the same time, we're always open to new opportunities. I was listening to the Today Show over the holidays, and there was something about Harding College's College of Education, a small private college in Arkansas. They were in New York City at a Columbia University's education institute. So I said, Greg. So he's going to Arkansas.
You never know where the day's going to take you.
And he's going to come back through Miami because he's got to be down there. So he's going from Arkansas to Miami. So I'm sure he's going to have some
very
fun.
similar.
Same day.
Very much so.
I'll keep our eyes and ears open for what's
No,
out
I
there.
just want to say, I appreciate all the work and being innovative on these things. And we've talked about this as a board. And I know Mr. Thacker, one of the first things he did when he got on the board was say, "Give me a presentation." I don't know if you remember back 5 years ago, whatever. But this is a big piece of what we're doing. And we just, we see it. And I've read those same articles. You see it for real in your job. I mean, Pennsylvania, you talk about 10, 20, 30% drop. And I remember when you first did that presentation in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, those were your honey holes, and now we're not getting the return there. So I appreciate you guys continuing to not just beat your head against the same wall that's not producing. So thank you.
Is 36% the number of teachers that are coming to us from a different route? Non-teachers or non-education majors, I'm sorry.
Right.
What's the percentage?
Yes.
Is it 36?
Actually, I have it here. And for this last year, it was 36.5%, which is actually an increase over, if you look at our numbers, our average number of the last 3 years, it's an increase of 3.7%.
How much do you have the ability to measure two things? One is the number of teachers coming to Florida compared to other states in the union. Number two, teachers coming to Osceola County compared to other counties across the state.
I'm just trying to think. Off the top of my head, I couldn't give you that.
I don't expect it now, but I think it's an important data point. Like, we know that number one, there are trends on migration and immigration across the United States. We just saw again another report that Florida is once again outpacing the United States, every other state within the union, of bringing people in. So I think it's going to be important for us to see if we have 1,000 new people moving to Florida a day. We know that we have a unique competitive advantage on getting bodies in the state, but how does that play out in getting teachers into the state? Number two, when we get them here, we're competing against 66 other Sunshine State opportunities. And so how do we compare and measure against that? And the measurement point should also look at size of county and some of those type of things, or size of workforce in the given district.
And percentage of growth.
Sure. But those are important measurements for us to look at, because we could say, we brought in X number of new teachers, which sounds good, but if we don't have the comparative data to see how we're really measuring against the marketplace, we can trick ourselves into believing we're doing better or worse than we really are. Right. So I think that'd be really important to look at, and I have to imagine that there's data sets out there that can show us some of those things.
You would think that Tallahassee, with some of the reporting that we do with them, that would be something that they would be looking at as well.
Yeah.
So we can reach out to contacts there.
Please do.
And see if some of that information is already available.
Good.
One other piece that wasn't in the PowerPoint that I wanted to bring your attention to, if you'll remember 3 years ago, we started our own Future Teacher Academy, in which we partnered with Valencia and UCF and what was then Florida Credit Union, which is now Addition Financial, to provide an opportunity for students to gain their education degree in Osceola by going from our Teacher Academy programs in the high school to Valencia, then on to UCF's elementary ed program. And we currently have our first round of juniors. 11 individuals have stuck through this process. It's not a lot, but that's 11 people who are committed to teaching for us. So they'll earn their $2,500 stipend this semester.
Good.
How many did we start with?
There are 17 in that cohort,
okay.
And there are 3 cohorts, so and they get a little bit larger every time. So 17 are juniors.
And that's the first cohort?
There are 20, correct.
Okay.
There are 20 that are sophomores and about 23 who are freshmen at Valencia right now. Mm-hmm. And those 17
you're talking
of them,
college year, not high school year.
Correct. There are hundreds in our high school program.
That was my next
Correct.
question. Then, how
Yep.
many is in the high school? How many is currently enrolled in our high school program?
We have 3 schools participating, and there are over 100 students at OHS, Gateway, and
St. Cloud.
So
St.
we're
Cloud.
losing 3/4 of that by the time they go.
No, I think you meant 100 per school, right?
Yes.
Or no?
Yeah.
It's growing.
Depending on the
that program.
school.
Depending on the
Oh,
school.
so
Correct.
so it's 3.
No, it's growing. It'll be interesting to see what that 100 turns into.
But that dropped from 300 to 25.
But there wasn't
We didn't
100.
have that.
There wasn't 100
Yeah,
in that
there
cohort.
weren't at that time.
Okay.
So there are 4 courses, and we have a ton in that intro course, the very first course, for the first time ever. We really worked with 8th grade, the My Career Shines, in order to pathway students who had an interest in 8th grade to get in that in 9th grade.
So to follow up on your point then, again, measuring that over time and then seeing as we're graduating out X number of seniors from each of these programs, and aggregate 100 from across the district, whatever that 33 for each school, then what does that translate to, and then tracking it all the way along so we can see, is this pathway that we're creating really yielding the results?
Yeah.
We can celebrate the 11 for sure, but I think that's the long-term look of how we're bolstering that and creating the right pathway.
300 a year would be really nice. We'd put you out of a job.
The 100 that are currently in the high school program at Gateway High School, for example, or OHS, are not all seniors.
Oh,
Right.
that's
No,
not
they're
fair.
Okay? So that's across a 4-year
25
piece.
a year. Okay.
But that's still better than we were 3 years ago.
Right, yeah, that's what I was saying, like 33 may graduate in theory of each school, whatever the math may be, or 25 per grade, yeah.
All right, any other questions about 2A? If not, we'll move on to 2B.
Okay, so 2B, that's to provide a high-quality professional learning that is aligned to individual and organizational needs. And I wanted to just provide some highlights. one of the things that we did this year is to provide some courses for our professional development facilitators across the district to help them really understand how to engage adult learners. So one of the courses is our Effective PD online course, which really shared, for example, the latest in research, what are our new PD standards from the state of Florida, those types of things. And that particular course is online, as well as the next course that you'll see on there, this the MyPGS course creator, and that's really understanding how to navigate our MyPGS system, the My Professional Growth system, understanding how to take attendance, give assignments through that, award credit. And then the last one I'm really excited about, this one was done for district resource teachers. We had 53 of them that completed the Kagan Dynamic Facilitator Workshop and understanding different types of strategies to engage them, adult learners within their workshops. So that one took place in October. It was a two-part. We did October and then November. And again, we had 53 that completed that successfully. And we've seen them already implementing those strategies within their, day-to-day work.
And this was in direct relationship to the listening tour visits that you had and the concerns that were expressed about quality PD in the district. We want our teachers to engage in professional learning that's going to be relevant, engaging, and that they can then transfer into practice. So we're trying to come at it from this end to improve the quality of those sessions.
Right.
Go ahead. I was just going to say that was very interesting, and Mr. Thacker probably remembers. I mean, once we got past the insurance and salary stuff, which we all really don't have a whole lot of control over. There's things have to be done there. That was probably, that rose right to the top of once if we could get through that conversation. Mr. Thacker remembers. Then we started saying, what can we do to help you? That was it. And I know Dr. Pace has probably expressed that, so I want to say thank you, Dr. Pace and your whole team, to taking that time and not making it futile, I guess. And, because we did spend a lot. I know Mr. Weishire did, and Ms. Castillo did, and Kelvin came to a couple. But I appreciate he's not here, so we're going to make fun of him. Because we really did spend a lot of time, staff did, Ms. Tanya, I know, was there at every time for us, and I think some of those meetings went 3 and 4 hours, and to be able to listen and really, like I said, hear that concern about professional development was important, and I know that's driving what we're doing here, so thank you.
It is.
It is, and we continue to survey to get input from our stakeholders. So we did another survey again in the fall. We wanted to see how are we doing and get a temperature check for how things are going, what we still needed to do. So we still continue to see some things that we're continuing to work on. So making sure that it's engaging, that we're providing differentiated opportunities. So not just something for new teachers, or not the same thing over and over again, but those that are experienced, how do we make sure that we're meeting their needs as well? So those are the types
to break
of
it
things
down, that was the number one complaint. When we talked about PD, that was like, hey, I've been teaching for 20 years. I don't need to see this again.
I've been in the same class 20 times. I pretty much
got it.
And one of the things that we did is our executive PD council has come together and they review the data that we keep getting in and taking a look at it, and not only looking at it as a whole for the district, but breaking it down by if this is courses that were offered by elementary department, by the middle school department, by the high school, et cetera, so that they can look at their own results. So the folks that were submitting, the answers, this is the PD that I went to, this is how I feel about it, so that it went back directly to those departments. So, along with that, we actually have our ESET 2, which is it's by teachers, for teachers, and I hope that you're able to come. It's elevating and celebrating effective teachers in teaching, which is taking place on the 31st.
A week from Friday.
Week from Friday. We hope that you're able to come.
Lunch, all day.
The whole thing is planned by teachers, and it's classroom teachers that are providing the PD and sharing best practices that they're utilizing every day. So I just wanted you to be aware of that, and again, it's on the 31st at the Embassy Suites down by 535. So.
May I ask a few questions about the training that you're creating for our teachers? And I probably asked you this question before, so forgive me if I'm being redundant. So one of the things that I heard from Mr. Booth is that we're not anymore offering trainings that were redundant, that our teachers had already taken. So when we are creating new material, are we creating this in-house, or are we using out-of-the-box trainings and then fitting it to our needs? How are we, and what kind of trainings are we offering as well?
We are offering, so it's both. Most of our trainings are offered in-house, but we also have training that is from partners that we hire. And for example, Core Connections is one of the companies that we utilize, and it's tailored based on the assessments that they get back and the needs of the students. Then they'll talk to the teachers and say, this is what your students need right now. And then it's, shared out with them different strategies specific to that level. We have others that are in-house based on, you've heard about the learning cycles that we go to. We, as we're capturing that data, we figure out what is it that is needed at that particular school site, and then we're able to go. And, sometimes, in some cases, for example, middle school will go out to the schools, and they have, specific needs at a particular school, and they provide PD that's for that school based on the data that they have gathered during that particular learning cycle.
And what are targeted workshops specific to the needs of the professionals that are needing it? Okay.
Correct. One of our other important partners is really a part of Goal 2C and the work that Mackenzie and the team have done with the new teacher center to first engage the mentors who are working with our first and second year teachers, but then also this year that was expanded to our content area school-based coaches, so that they're all getting that quality professional learning that they can then take back and use to work with teachers. So we're not sending missed messages there. Not to steal the thunder from 2C, but it's a big piece of it. So it's really a blend.
It's a variety. Yeah, it's a variety depending on the particular content area and the need.
You may have touched on this, and I may have missed it in just what you just said. Do you do a survey request every year of what employees are looking for, like what areas they're most passionate about or want to learn the most about? Does that?
Yeah. So we do a big survey usually towards May to kind of hear what it is that they need for next school year and what they're wanting, but we also do them throughout the year. So we just did the fall one just to find out, how are we doing so far, and then what are your needs before the October PD, and to help us also start planning for summer, because we're already kind of looking ahead for the summer, now.
Right. What's the participation rate? That was what?
So I think at the last one we had over 1,000. I want to say we were about the 1,200 participants from instructional personnel.
So that's 30%?
There's 3,900
Well, if you're
teachers.
looking at teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that happen to not just teachers but parents as well?
So we have some parents that that respond to it, but the majority of it is instructional personnel.
Okay, so the 1,000 responses was teachers.
We're able to
25% response rate. And I would venture to say that it's the implementation then is two parts. It's one, what they believe they want and what they're looking for, but number two, it's what they actually need and what it is we believe based on looking at the horizon we see as a district that the trend or the information is going to be required to have.
And that's what makes it so hard, because sometimes what they believe is not, that they need is not necessarily what we're seeing in the data. So they might say, an example I can give you, let's say it's guided reading as the initiative. And they're saying, but we're doing that, or I've been to that workshop, but we're not seeing the elements of effective guided reading, for example, in the classroom in that particular school. Then we would have to really look at the data, to say, we need to offer something. What is it specifically about that initiative that we need to drill down a little bit more to make sure that they are understanding it? Is it coaching that they need? Is it, where is the support that is needed in order for them to implement it effectively?
Do you have a kind of go back to what I was saying earlier, do you have a way, number one, is there a district in the state of Florida that is the model for PD that's just really doing amazing, or beyond that, across the United States, that we can look at and see what best practices really look like, and that we can see that they've really moved the needle and begin to do that? And I share that partly because, one, we have limited money, limited capacity, limited opportunity. I understand that. Two is that if somebody's already created something that's really, really good, we don't have to recreate it, we can replicate. The other part is that if we don't look in that type of vein, as you know, everybody wants to sell us something. There's always some new shiny object out there that they say, well, buy our product or buy our program or do this. So I just want to make sure that as we're looking at what it is we're putting in place and the way that we're delivering instruction, it's interesting because we're an education institution. Hopefully we have the most innovative approaches to educating our employees to be the best professionals that they can be. But the way that we're looking at the delivery methods, I think, needs to constantly be evaluated and adapted as well to ensure that it's cutting edge in the way that's most relevant for today. So I don't know if there's a question, but just those are the type of things that I think you should be thinking about if you're not already, and looking on the horizon to see who's out there and who has what that we can take and use in-house.
Yeah, and we do have teams that are going out to our Learning Forward National Conference as well as the Florida one to be able to make those connections and network and learn from others. And so we are trying to collaborate with other districts to do just that.
I have just one more question, and maybe I should just meet with you instead of like taking up all the time. But with regards to measuring the effectiveness, because one of the things that you mentioned, and that's one of the things I struggle with myself in my profession, is people think that they don't know something or that they need a certain kind of training, but really it's something else. So when we are facilitating these workshops or classes or whatever they might be, how are we measuring that the learner is actually understanding? Is there an exam? Is there just demonstration? What kinds of measurement methodologies are we using in class, and then maybe even measuring afterwards by, I don't know, a survey or something to really help us gauge not what they think that they captured, but what they actually captured from the training.
Right, and I think that varies by workshop or by course.
Yeah.
So usually the facilitator has some kind of implementation that is taking place. Sometimes it's right there in the classroom with practice, and then oftentimes they get to try it on their own after they've gone back to their school. And the coaches are able to support and all of that. So we capture data. The facilitator is able to capture data on the spot from during the workshop, but also afterwards from whatever the implementation is.
I think maybe I need to sit down with you specifically and ask some more of those deep questions.
Yes, absolutely. Welcome back.
Huh? Yeah, I know. I'm coming.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
I have a lot of questions. I'm
No,
sorry.
we value your questions, Ms. Castillo. What I will just quickly share, because again, I want to make sure that we're being mindful of time and not to take away from anything that you guys want to ask us, but that all of our professional learning now does require an implementation plan. And for example, the reading endorsement courses, the way that they earned their credit and their points was because they implemented in their classroom and provided feedback for how it went. So we're really doing everything that we can to try to move that professional development into practice with support from the coaches and the mentors. Okay?
Thank you. So the last piece I wanted to share was in regards to some of the work that we're doing for leaders, I should say. The first is with the Wallace Foundation. We have a partnership with them, which is going to help us to strengthen our leadership pipeline. We're hoping to develop leader standards and coming up with a draft job description for master principal. So we're excited about the work there.
Good work to show.
Yes. And then some other leadership opportunities. You've heard of the BB&T Bank. So they have a leadership institute that's called Mastering Leadership Dynamics. And we have 3 leaders that have participated in that, 3 more that are going to be participating this coming spring. And that's really, it's a very personal experience in understanding your leadership abilities. Then we have our Preparing New Athletic Directors, which has been established, and we take our new assistant athletic directors to participate in this program. They have 6 different sessions that they go to, and they've developed like an AD philosophy. They get to understand the AD standards a little bit more. So that's new for us this year. And then the last one I wanted to highlight is our National SAMS Innovation Project, which we've got some school leaders that are participating, 8 of them total right now. And this is about really making sure that they're focusing their time on instructional work. What are those things that are going to make an impact in the school? That's what they should be focusing their time on.
That's really exciting because it's training not just for the principal, but also for the principal's assistant, because that's really such an important partnership to help the principal effectively manage their time. So just very, very quickly, because I know we are taking over, and I want to turn it over to Mackenzie for 2C. On Friday afternoon, we interviewed for our elementary and middle school principal openings. We had 3 positions that we were hiring for at the time, and that was the St. Cloud Elementary School principal, Neptune Elementary School principal, and St. Cloud Middle School principal due to retirements and changes in position. We had 9 of our assistant principals at the table. all 9 of whom were ready to do the work. So it really wasn't like who could do it, who couldn't do it, but what's going to be the right fit for this individual in this particular school. So very, very exciting that I want to share as a huge testimony to this team and everybody else in the room for the work that we've done with leadership development. So
Turning it over to 2C. Sure. I have the distinction to wrap up talent management. So goal 2C is about developing and retaining our workforce to reduce turnover of high-quality employees. There are 2 key activities that kind of go hand in hand. I think Dr. Pace alluded to it earlier, and that is really a unique partnership with the New Teacher Center to do some action research with our instructional mentors and instructional coaches who are engaging in a 2-year series of professional learning that is really unique research-based efforts in supporting beginning educators. So as far as our progress points are concerned, our instructional mentors are completing their first year, and our instructional coaches, are completing their second year. Our instructional coaches are completing their first year. And we currently have, as far as our caseloads are concerned, we have about 292 first and second year teachers who have a dedicated side-by-side mentor in their high-need schools, who work with them side-by-side for an hour a week. And then as far as instructional coaches, we have about 208 teachers who fall in that years 3 to 5, kind of our most vulnerable teacher population, the ones who have a tendency to leave, who have a side-by-side coach who's working with them about an hour a week, utilizing these unique research-based tools. So if you see kind of in the top right corner, you'll see a data chart there. And this is a data chart that really tells a story. So the story that it tells is that in our first cohort of about 191 teachers last year, who are first-year teachers at high-need schools who were mentored, in May, 91% of them were still teaching at the school and capacity that they were hired to. By June, that number dropped to about 75%, mainly because we had a number of teachers who had not completed the certification requirements, so the principal could not offer that contract for the next year. By July, that number, spiked about 10% because teachers seriously got on it and needed to go take those exams and finish some coursework and that sort of thing. And to date, as far as December, just before we were on break, 74% of those 191 teachers are currently teaching a similar, let's say, grade level or subject, but at the same exact high need school. So we were able to retain 74% of that initial cohort at the same high need school. That does not tell a story district-wide. Some of those employees have left those high need schools and are serving in other schools within our district. So if we were to look at that, there are probably somewhere between 6 and 10 of them who are currently teaching for us, but just not in those most high need schools.
How do you pick your mentors?
So our mentors go through a process. So we vet them. They send a resume and a cover letter. We do principal recommendation. They have to have results as far as student growth scores, and they also have to make it through our new clinical educator skills course, which really talks about 4 essential skills of being a mentor, and they have to practice with some of the tools and then send me a reflection of having practiced with the tools in order to make it through that clinic course.
Okay, because that's key, because that's one
Absolutely.
thing. One thing we picked up in the listening sessions last year, without fail, there would be somebody go on and on about how much they hated teaching and hated this and I hate this profession.
Those are not the people that we want to be our
And
mentors.
and I'm a mentor for 2 years.
We do have mentors across the district, but this is a unique sort of a cadre of mentors that have a disposition that is different from that, and we hire for a different disposition.
And Mackenzie is being very humble here, but she's going to be presenting about the work that she's done with this partnership this week at our FADS conference in Tallahassee.
All right.
And then also in February at the National Superintendent's Conference.
Awesome.
Good. Just a quick comment on mentorships. We should, I'm all in with this, by the way. I think it's great. We want to continue it. But we should look outside the district as well and see if we have business partner mentors who would want to come along. You think about just an easy target would be Leadership Osceola graduates every year, Fritz excluded. They graduate leaders, if you will, every year, and we should be tapping those guys to say, would you be interested in being a mentor for whether it be one of our principals, APs, or teachers, paras, otherwise. there's a unique opportunity there that we may not be looking at.
I hadn't even thought about that, but
I
I'm
had
thinking
neither.
in particular about supporting some of our CTE teachers who
Yes.
come from a business perspective, who could use
Yes.
that leadership
Yes.
perspective.
Yep.
So, thank you. That's a great suggestion.
Yep.
All right, and then finally, the last really exciting piece.
Sure, there is one more key activity, which is really to develop and implement PDCP, which is a professional development certification program. I think you already heard Tammy tell us about the number of teachers that we're onboarding who are alternative certification seeking. And so providing a pathway for them to be certified is important that they can do it in-house and in an affordable manner. Previous to this, we have kind of partnered with a number of entities in order for them to get that certification. And now we're working on building a matrix. We have submitted, the window was open until the 15th. We submitted on Wednesday, the 15th, and Janice received, I think, the certification that they had received it and that it was looking
It looked good.
Good, looking great. I think they
Great.
So this will be another really exciting recruitment tool for our folks, because our alternative cert teachers will be able to get this, to complete their certification requirements in-house at a much lesser cost than having to take university courses and those types of things.
So, quick question before we wrap up, and I know we're almost there. Historically, and I know the numbers way a lot greater now, but we've always had alternative certification, right, teachers for decades, right? Yep. So, what's the retention rate on those teachers as compared to ones that graduate college with a teaching degree? Do we know? Do we have that?
I can get you that number.
Because I mean,
yeah.
seriously, if we're going down,
Yep.
37% of our new teachers are alt cert, and the retention rate is like half as much. Like that's gonna be a big lift. And I know that number's probably, I don't know if it's half, but it's
Right.
I know it's probably greater.
Yeah, that
So-
number
Well,
would
we
be
know there's a lot
easy
less
for us
people
to get.
in education schools too, though.
No,
So
I
we
understand.
gotta-
No. We have to do something.
Because we have them coded, so all we have to go is just to look and see how many have separated.
But we don't know. You don't know right
I don't
off the
have
top
it
of your
right off the
head.
top of
Just
my head.
okay.
The vast majority of mine, the reason why they were not able to receive that contract for the next year is because of certification.
GKIT.
Well, actually, no, not last year because we had that little grace period of
Yes.
1 day
Yeah.
based on our calendar.
Yeah.
So it could have been higher.
So
We were
why
fortunate.
is it then?
Well, we
It's
were
not
fortunate
general knowledge
because-
then.
No, it could have been other ESOL endorsements, all kinds of
Oh,
things.
okay.
There-
We have a lot of
Coursework,
stuff.
there are a
We
number
do.
of
Okay.
adult cert
Gotcha.
teacher.
All right.
Thank you.
you, Team 2. You guys are
Thank
great.
you,
We'll
guys.
move on to Goal 3. We always end up spending a little bit more time on Goals 1 and 2 because of the depth of analysis and data there, but certainly we don't want to slight the work that our other teams are doing with the strategic plan. So coming quickly to the table is our Goal 3 team.
I think we can slight Sarah.
All
That's
had the
Yeah,
chocolates.
and Cavaney.
definitely.
And Sarah's going to take it away.
Good afternoon. All right, so time for goal 3, our favorite, fiscal responsibility.
Academic success.
Just a quick reminder, we have the 3 strategies. 3A, evaluate and improve current processes to increase operational efficiency. 3B, reduce overall energy consumption and waste management costs. And 3C, develop a healthcare program focused on employee well-being and cost control. And I will turn it over to Mr. Thorne to get us kicked off on 3A.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Dr. Pace. Good afternoon, board members. We're here to talk to you about Goal 3A, evaluate and improve current processes to increase operational efficiency. Currently, we are in the midst of developing standard timekeeping procedures and reviewing the procedures that we currently have from a payroll point of view. To date, we are mapping the business processes for payroll in year 1. We've identified 67 high-level payroll processes and approximately 2,250 sub-processes in the payroll process. For example, master payroll run, which is run many times a year, has about 85 steps in that process. One of our goals for this is to reduce the number of steps and to reduce the time frame that it takes to run those, increasing the efficiency of the process. Along with that, we are dovetailing that with installing the latest version of our Chronos software and bringing it up to date. That has been completed. and we are looking to install the latest version of the time clocks, which we have purchased for the district. In addition to this, we are reviewing instructional software programs to determine academic return on investment. We are doing this through our ClassLink platform, which every staff member and student uses in the district. We're able to dive down and look at each software title and at a very detailed level determine the usage of that software at each school site. So we're able to do that. Currently our number one user is Focus, which makes sense. And we are able to look at each of those. We've identified over 70 different software titles that are being used at the schools. And finally, we're engaging with the GFOA Alliance for Excellence. The district team attended training in September. They revised the budget timeline to better align with hiring needs. And the next steps there is ESC staffing allocation analysis.
Before you move on, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Do you feel like we have the best, most efficient process or systems in place for managing payroll, or do you think we've just cobbled together what we needed to over time to adjust and adapt as things have changed on us? If you could create it today, would you do what we're doing, or would you do something totally different?
Not
use
use
Chronos?
You were correct the second time. When we have, the other challenge that we have found in payroll is that each department and sometimes each school secretary has a slightly different way for getting to the end result in terms of processing payroll. So we've really been looking at what we can do to streamline that process. Transportation is the most complicated because of the just the complexity of hours and extra runs and field trips and all of those types of things. Also, it's highly union driven in terms of bids and who picks up routes and those types of things. So we're working through all of that process. But I think it had to start with the project plan, which Q has developed. We now have an actual process manager on board program to analyze this, and we're hiring a new payroll supervisor to help tighten all of these things. So Jose and Sarah have worked with the team, with Pete and the team, to streamline what we can now, but this is still a big opportunity for us.
Well, you mentioned 85 steps in a process, and I immediately think there's a ton of inefficiency that we need to continue to carve out of that.
Opportunity for error, all of those
That's
things
part of
come
our
into
goal
place.
metric. Our metrics is to reduce the number of steps and to improve that efficiency.
All I know is Ms. Joan, the bus driver, calls me and reminds me every time the transportation payroll's messed up. So just
Still a very manual process.
It is. Transportation and food service are the first two departments that we're looking at for improving these processes, with transportation being number one. One of the things that we have right now between Chronos and Terms, we have one small piece of food service where the time is actually transferred over from Chronos into Terms automatically. We're looking to expand that to all the departments, with transportation being the first one.
So we've talked about this. I applaud the effort and what we're doing and the focus on it, but I also think let's sit and brainstorm. If we could start over today, what would we do? And let's get outside of industry and see, what does Disney do? What does Universal do? What are some of the other partners in the marketplace do? HCA, right? Advent, some of these larger players that have to process payroll the size and scale that we do. And let's see where there's opportunity. Maybe it's not today. Maybe it's in 2 years or 3 years. But let's look at what we need to be doing to really streamline and increase efficiency and
This
cost
is an
savings.
area of intentional focus for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
We can't wait 2 years to fix it.
Yeah.
But thank you, point well
Yeah.
taken, and certainly I think looking outside of education is a great way to start.
The good news about what we're doing with this process is we're starting a blueprinting process where we're actually looking at all the payroll, all the processes as far as our current state, and we're trying to move it to a future state where things are improved.
Sure.
In the current platform. So, but we're setting the stage for that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Goal 3B? Good news here.
Good afternoon, board members, superintendent. Goal 3B is to reduce overall energy consumption and waste management costs. Our efforts are working this year. We have created to date a savings of $802,678. Now keep in mind that's before we add our 2 new schools. When we add our new schools into that, we still have an 8.4% reduction across the board on utility savings. So that's a huge savings for the district. We did this through optimizing some of the HVAC schedule run times, aligning that with your new schedules, set schedules for all the schools. That's helped us save some dollars there. And definitely run times to coincide with when they're using their facilities off peak hours. So we also created a template for environmental impact studies at each school. We're using this on a monthly basis to meet and discuss what's working and what's not at each school. Where is some of that energy going? Is there a way to capitalize on it, a way to fix it? That's what we're doing now. Our next steps in that is to pilot an event manager for facility use agreements, so we can see that after hours use, who it's going to, how can we kind of recapture some of that utility costs that we're incurring from that use after hours and weekends. We're also going to establish an incentive program coming up for all of our schools so they can get on board with some of the energy savings that we're creating, and hopefully share some of that that savings back with some of the schools.
We know that some of this is a systems and control and monitoring issue, but part of it is behavior management, and that's where the incentive program we think could be helpful in the schools, so that people remember again to turn off the light.
Absolutely.
So my dad used to tell me to do.
You bet, yeah, all the time. So your sales tax dollars are at work. That's one of the things we just wanted to bring up in the middle of this.
Clarence had to blow out the candle. is what
He did.
No, we don't even need street lights in our neighborhood. My kids have that, we light up everything.
I understand. Board, to date, we have spent $75 million on comprehensive renovations and deferred maintenance projects, and that's just since November of 2016. These are those projects that help replace chillers to create a more efficient operating system in each of our schools. We have completed 5 chiller replacement projects and received $121,000 in rebates. We're really going after that rebate program as much as we can and capitalizing on that, returning as much as we can to the district. During this process of energy savings, we've gone down the Energy Star certification path. Out of 12 schools, we picked a dozen schools to send up to Energy Star to determine where we are at, kind of on that scale of are we performing or are we not. Of that, about 50% of them exceeded that certification level to be certified by Energy Star. So I think that's certainly a testament to what we're doing here. And we hope to continue on with this, keep identifying what's going on with our schools that aren't performing and bringing them up to that certification level.
Two things on the agreements with the facilities uses. I know I took this on my first year on the board. What I ran into was that we have an interlocal agreement with the city of Kissimmee, St. Cloud, the county. I don't know if you know
in
about
a couple
that.
spots, yes, sir.
Yeah,
yes,
and
sir.
so we have to be careful on what we rent for because there's kind of this agreement
Absolutely.
in place. The other thing is I want to say thank you too on the energy saving stuff, because I know I've been very vocal about the AC issues. Now, it's probably because it's November and December and January. I haven't received any more calls. It's nice outside, but November was hot. And I do,
So was last week.
Yeah. And I remember going to some gyms early on, and they were hot. They were too hot. Walked in the gym the other night with my mother and my wife, and they wanted to go back out on a warm evening, and they wanted to go back out and get their jacket. I said, "Wait a minute, we turn this thing down." But I am glad that we have kind of have worked out a lot of the kinks, and so I appreciate all your hard work on that because I know it's tough. Especially when you're messing with somebody's air conditioner. It's tough, so I do appreciate that, and I have been vocal, and I'll continue to be vocal if I think I need to be, but I do appreciate all the hard work.
Well, and I think, some of it was a systems issue, some of it was control issues, and some of it was just working out the kinks over
Yeah,
time.
so it was a lot of
Shane
kinks.
and Mark and Moises and the rest of the group in maintenance have really worked very, very hard
Yes.
to get this done, as
Thank you.
opposed to, I continue to get calls from companies that want to come in and give us 3 people, and they'll save us even more money, but they want half of it. So this team's really worked hard to get where we are, and we'll continue to look at it.
Mr. Booth touched on one that I was going to mention, which is we're in this moment of reprieve weather-wise right now. Take advantage of it. Make sure we're ahead of the curve as things start to heat back up going into spring and summer. But my bigger comment was, you're here, and so I want to say thank you. I couldn't be happier with how responsive you are to me, my request, and the questions that I ask of you, and your intentional approach to making sure that the items that are brought to my concern or a concern to me are addressed, and I appreciate you sincerely, Mark, so thank you.
I appreciate that. Let me take a minute while we're talking about energy to let you know that this is, sorry, gotta have a minute. This is not just maintenance. We have worked with other departments. We have worked with superintendents. We've worked with Peter Thorne and his group, even identifying computer shutdown time. So this is, it's multifaceted. With the facility use agreements, that has to do with Rick and his group. So we're making this a district effort, not just maintenance.
Yeah, when the boss says no, don't do it.
I just stopped. Sorry.
All right, on to goal 3C, or strategy 3C with Mr. Hensley. Some of this will be new, and again, at our next board meeting, we have a full-scale workshop, again, on health insurance. So Ricky's going to go through some highlights that have happened since our last workshop.
All right, thank you. Board, Dr. Pace, you may have heard a little bit about this. That's you're all aware we reopened the health center on October 1st, and again, providing services. I'm very pleased to let you know that we've completed the onboarding, and Dr. Mario Perez had his first schedule yesterday. He's working 3 half-days a week for us as he closes out his practice in Four Corners area. I'm really excited. 2 days a week, he's starting at 7 o'clock in the morning. Those critical hours, and that's Monday and Friday. On Wednesdays, he's taking a late shift and staying till 7. So that gives us, again, primary coverage all the way till 7 in the morning, 7 at night, 3 days a week. Plus, we are fully staffed with our mid-levels. We have 5 mid-levels working to the degree that we are actually now having a couple of our providers not go over 100% every week. So appointments are available. They may not be the exact time people want them, but there are some appointments available. And we're doing the same-day appointments now that we've got fully staffed. We have a second part-time provider that will be starting in March as we've finished that person's onboarding, and then we're looking for one other full-time provider. We thought we had someone in the pipeline, but that didn't work out. It's a competitive world out there, as you know. The industry is losing about 15,000 practitioners a year, and so it's competitive. So, but we have a.
Are we able to pay enough to get people?
We are. We're competitive. That's not the problem. It's just that there are just so many other opportunities, benefits. One we lost is at VA. I mean, we couldn't compete with the benefits and the longevity that person had. I have a fourth provider that I'm familiar with that we're in the onboarding process or the evaluation process now. So as soon as we can get that fourth person, we'll be fully staffed. So excited about that. Passed out some of the communication pieces that we've been sharing. These were in nice full color. I saved the ink, so your copies are black and white today. But full color went out to every staff member. Very excited about that. Services continue to be moved back in-house as we continue to gear up. We have moved pre-employment drug testing back in-house. This month we're moving the DOT drug testing in-house. In the 1st of February, we'll be bringing DOT physicals back in-house. So those are items that we just didn't have the capacity, but now that we're fully staffed, we'll be bringing those back in-house as rapidly as we can. Excited about our flu shot program this year. Last year we only did like 358 through our trying to do it on site. This year, 983. We really appreciate the partnership. Eric Larson, I think some of you know Eric, private pharmacy over in St. Cloud, did a great job for us. Went local to about 40 different school locations to get that 983 number. And the incredible thing is they saved us about 44% of what it would have cost through our health plan. So win-win. And as a result, the process through the health plan is down about 7%. So very excited about that. The International Pharmacy Program.
I was going to ask you how your postcard went.
I was just getting ready to share one with you.
I got mine in the mail.
Did you get it? Okay. We're excited about it. The minute we got back from winter break, the numbers have just shot up. We did more strips in the first half of January than we had October or November and December combined. And so obviously it'll be about 3 months before we know for sure the full impact, because most people with the maintenance meds are on a 3-month cycle. So it'll take 3 months to really know how we're able to steer people into the program. But constantly running into employees have tried it, loved it, everything works fine, and they've received the savings, we've received the savings. We should have some data for you in the next month or two, once we get the program up and running completely, that shows you the exact savings, but it's in the thousands of dollars already.
Second part of that, and we already talked about it, is that we went first round with these higher cost ones, but big picture, because I actually think some people may have gotten this, looked at it, we got it, we looked at it, and so I don't take any of these, not for me, but there are other that are not these high cost ones that are still the maintenance meds that are still able to realize savings, and so I think another communication around this to increase enrollment would be good. I will say I don't think the enrollment process is as efficient as it could be, because we did call on it.
They're making improvements. They had 2 different call centers, because part of the meds are coming from 2 different organizations in Canada, and were referring people to 2 different numbers. They've completely engaged a new call center, so that's working much better than the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Good.
So growth, I mean, they experienced such growth, they were having trouble keeping up with it.
Good.
They've made the adjustments to keep up with it, and I'm excited about it.
Let's inundate them with phone calls.
Yeah, I'm sure you were.
Not me, everyone else.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not on any drugs.
Green imaging, that's our direct contract we put in place. Again, hundreds, probably 100 and some odd images already since we implemented, anywhere from 40 to 50% savings. We'll have some data for you as well, but I think people are loving it.
Is this a place, or is this?
Green imaging is a process. It's a concierge service where you call, wherever you get your script for an image, you call this 1-800 number, they find you the best place at the best price at the best time for your schedule. And they walk you through it, they follow up, and again, I've had nothing but super positive results, both from our employees' response as well as the outcome. And again, we're saving literally thousands of dollars already, and that'll continue to grow. That'll be our next postcard that we put out probably sometime in February to help facilitate kind of the same response as well. Next steps on plan design, you'll be seeing some update on that this evening, and I'm excited to show you kind of the process we've been through. The team, including our broker team as well as my office team, have worked diligently, put in hours and hours, and we've got some information to share with you as how we think the plan needs to look this next year, with some ideas probably longer term after that. I think you all know that the invitation to negotiate is in the process. The question period closed last week, so we're just now waiting for the closing date on those 2 components. A lot of interest. I mean, we have pages and pages and pages of questions from a lot of different players in the insurance industry. So I think we're going to have a lot of options to bring you once we mush it all together, and that'll be processed through the month of February. We're very excited.
How many companies?
Well, we won't know until
I don't
we
know.
actually get the results.
No.
During the question period, it's just people responding or asking questions. We won't
Of us.
We won't receive the
Gotcha.
actual invitations back.
You don't know what company's asking what questions.
Well, we know what companies, and there's lots of them. We just don't know who will actually submit a proposal.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Let me remind the board, you're in the non-contact period, where, and if you have any questions, I'd recommend you contact Dr. Pace.
And I do want to personally thank Lisa and Lauren from my office. The amount of work and time and energy they put in to get this on the street for us was incredible. Second to none, along with our mitigation partners and raising or Provinsure. A lot of players at the table to make all this come together, and I think we're going to be excited about what we see.
And not to take it all away from what Ricky's doing, but I do want to make sure and extend again a personal invitation to all of you to participate in our wellness fair.
Oh, I'm coming to that.
5K.
Yeah, I'm doing
March the 7th, Gateway High School. Be very, very excited.
Who drives the beverage cart?
And if you participate and sign up for the district team for the
This guy.
IOA 5K, you also can get a Double Dare medal. Right, Mr. Hensley?
It's incredible.
So it's incredible.
Double Dare
You
medal?
Yeah.
Like the show from the 90s?
Yeah.
You don't have to be a distance runner to do it.
It's a Saturday.
As of this afternoon, we currently have 1,902 people signed up for the We keep.
That's
doing
like
it.
double.
Can I hold like the water hose where people run by and they squirt it at them and they get their drink?
All right, again, not to rush us along or anything, but we will have a full update on health insurance at our next board meeting. So if there aren't any more questions, I will turn it over to Team 4. Good job, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Team 4. Community engagement and governance. Be mindful, it's 10 till 5. You guys are very important.
So you have 5 minutes.
Yeah, you don't. All right.
Next time we do, one day these time we
What
need to
data
start
do
at
you
the
have?
back and go forward.
I do
So
that.
these guys aren't slided every single time.
I don't. When I do it, I usually do. But
We'll pick up the last one.
my
They all work
company.
hard putting this together.
Yes, they do very hard. Thank you, Clarence. I don't mean to rush us along. All right. Hardworking Team 4 is here to share with you a little bit about the work and the excitement that's happening in community engagement and governance. Dana?
We're very excited about the great progress happening in Goal 4, so we'll go ahead and just get started with Leslie.
Hello, everybody. Goal 4A is provide parents opportunities to acquire information, knowledge, and skills to support their children's education at home and at school. I am so excited to be able to report the progress we've been making, especially in our early learning initiatives that we're working with this year. We have a Learn to Read program, which is for parents and children 0 to 2 years old. We were in 2 libraries last year, and we've expanded to all 5 library locations in Osceola County. We have increased our participation by 133%, and in the first half of the year, we had almost 2,100 parent engagement contacts in that program. It is the largest attended program in any of the libraries. We are 50, 60 participants every week. It's just, we have, just going gangbusters in the library process. So this has been a really great partnership. So then, from the 0 to 2 year olds, then Jalissa Cardona, who's our non-instructional employee of the year this year, she's the one, this is her program, and she pushes all of them into our Mommy and Me program, which is for 3-year-olds, getting kids ready for pre-K. And that we have in 4 locations across the county, Poinciana, Deerwood, Highlands, Cypress, and at Ross Jeffries. We worked with the Early Learning Coalition to do curriculum for this, so there's some standards-based curriculum. It's a 7-week program, 2 days a week. First day is the curriculum standards base that we did with the Early Learning Coalition. The second day is all about Footsteps to Brilliance and teaching the parents how to work with their kids with the app. We have had a 215% increase this year in this program. Every program's full. Every program has a waiting list. Our sessions 3 and 4 for the second half of the year are full with waiting lists. It's just very, and even though we're teaching kids, we're actually teaching parents how to engage with their kids. The kids are learning. I'm so proud of my girls, because one thing when the parents come in, they'll like, put your cell phones up. It's your time with your kid for the next hour, so you're going to just sit here and work. So parents love it. So they love it so much that when the 7 weeks are over, they don't want to end. So we instituted a second class called Circle Time. So once you get done with the curriculum, you can come back every week, because we want to keep them engaged all year. We don't want them to drop off. We want to keep working with them. And Circle Time is more like 1, 2, 3, ABC, shapes, colors. Just fun time. They sit on the floor and bean bags with their kids and do learning. So both of those programs have just taken off like gangbusters. Really excited about how we're working with parents and engaging parents early on. Second half of the year, we're rolling out our homework diner. That is the second half of the year because we use that to help parents with their kids get ready for testing. And we've done it the last 2 years at Central. We do a 3-week pilot. Then last year, Mr. Thacker, I think you came to some of them at Central. We had 20 weeks there. And we invite, it's a personal invitation, you invite level 1 and 2 children and their families. They come in, they have dinner. There's 100 to 120 participants, and we have 6 teachers there, 1 at each grade level. And they just work with the parents, not so much on the homework they have that week, but skills development of what they're going to need to do to be able to basically go through testing and pass the test that's coming up. So
if this gets expanded, I'd encourage y'all to go towards this.
I already have Laura Ridge circled.
Yeah, it's.
No, I was trying not to ruin children.
No, I mean, and parents love it. And they bring all their kids. We don't just say you and this one child. They bring their kids, their family. One thing we thought when we started, we're going to have to do this big dinner every night, have, cafeteria staff and all. You give them a Chick-fil-A sandwich and they're happy, Happy Meal, whatever, they're happy. So they come and they love the interaction. It gets pretty one-on-one with the teachers. At Central, the Kissimmee Police Department started coming and doing some things, building community there. So there's all kinds of opportunities. And we're expanding it to 6 more elementary schools this year. And then on top of that, we want to go to the next level, which would be middle and high schools. And we're very excited. I have money in Title IV, so we're going to work with the 4 high schools that aren't Title I that my team doesn't get to work with. And we're working with those principals. Obviously, it's not going to be parents coming in to do homework with their kids, but some of the things you all were talking about in Goal 1 about maybe bringing 9th graders and their parents in and talking about what's expected, different things, that's the ideas that the principals are coming up with. So we're trying to form a format, but we're letting the principals give us input.
Are you going to continue this at Central, or are they dropping off?
No, they're continuing it. Yes, they are continuing.
This really goes back to, though, the board's direction and some of our strategic planning conversations about parent engagement helping parents help their kids, to really give them that hand up in terms of how they might be better involved, better engaged, better supportive of their children's learning. And Leslie and the rest of the team, our school leaders, have really done a great job in taking that direction.
And part of the thing about Central that was pretty powerful, that's subliminal to this, is that is an area of town that has a terrible relationship with police officers. It's an area of town where the 2 police officers were killed. And the Kissimmee Police Department, there was a lady there, and I wish I could remember her name, and I'm embarrassed I can't. We kind of started spearheading that whole thing. And so they had a very large, there'd be 3 or 4 of them there in uniform. And it was nice to see the parents liked it, the kids liked it, very good interaction. So it's kind of served a couple of purposes all at the same time, which I thought was.
But we had 20 sessions at Central last year. All of them had 100 to 120 participants in it. The thing I want to stress on these numbers, these are not normal numbers. Nobody comes anywhere close to the capacity we are getting at our parent engagement activities. No one, even larger districts, come close to us. I have such an incredible team that works from a relationship basis, forming relationships with parents, not just having a meeting and checking it off because we had to do it. And we have momentum right now. Things are building. We're building trust, building relationships, people being more comfortable coming to events and everything. So I'm very excited about where we're at and how we're growing.
2 things, maybe the most important one first. Give me a Chick-fil-A sandwich, and I'm happy too, by the way. Second part is the Osceola YMCA is working in partnership with Osceola High School and working to build a partnership, I should say, for after-school innovation lab for tutoring and mentoring and some of those other things. It's something we've been working on for a couple of years and getting off the ground, and then we paused it for a while. We're now relaunching it, and you may want to plug into that conversation with some of this, particularly with what you said about expanding to high schools. I don't know if OHS was on that list or not that you were referencing.
We work with them on Title I. Yeah. I was excited that the 4 we never work with, through Title I funds, we found money in Title IV to be able to reach out to them and do
right, but there may be an opportunity to dovetail a partnership into what you're doing and expand that. And that serves not just Osceola High School, but also Thacker, of course, and then this Kissimmee School is right around the corner.
So,
Tim, if you want to help us make that contact information, I'll be happy to get it to Leslie and her team.
One point real quickly, love Chick-fil-A ideology, their ideology, hate their marketing. So maybe we're going to have to get the Osceola County Cattlemen's Association out to for one of these events and serve some beef.
I am sure that any of them would be
good.
willing to partake
You know.
with you as a partner.
Love their message, but hey, eat beef too, all right?
Spoken like a real chicken farmer, right?
And what I think is going to be a huge project for us is, we talked about the Smart Fest. We're going to be launching it, piloting it this month. Hopefully next week we'll be out on the road with it. We'll be reaching 20% of our homeless families up and down the 192 corridor. I did a little thing with Channel 9 News, just, we're doing this, we're going. It's getting national play, Dayton, Ohio, Boston, Massachusetts. And we haven't even launched this thing yet. We have somebody that stepped forward and said, we really like this idea. Maybe we'll find one or two more of these for you. Well, let's do the pilot. Let's see if it works.
Let's launch the first one.
Yeah. And then we also are working with Orlando Health. They're looking at giving us a 3-year summer grant to do summer programming through the Smart Fest. I think this is going to be a huge project to be able to reach a lot of our kids in areas where they really need it. So I'm very excited about this. I think it's going to just get good play all the way around.
If there aren't any other questions, we'll move on to choice. 4B,
Seriously,
thank you.
Get with me on that, about feeding. Get with me on that.
I will, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll do something.
Thank you, Superintendent. Oh, and these are the homework diner dates for the schools that are identified so far. So if you want to take one and circle one or two that even if you can just stop by for a few minutes, I know that Leslie and her team and their families would be very appreciative.
I'm going to Flora. Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Carmen.
Good afternoon, board members, Superintendent Pace. Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you Goal 4B, which is to promote high-quality educational choice opportunities that meets the diverse needs of our students. We have identified 4 strategies to do so, and the first was to increase the number of attendees at our district annual choice fair. And I'm pleased to share with you that we had a target of 3,500 attendees for that fair, and in actuality, what we had was 5,428.
That's great.
So it was very well attended. We had on-site application process for those families that attended. We received over 1,200 applications, and also pleased to share with you that 60% of those applications were for kindergarten enrollees. So we had a very targeted and direct effort working with the BPK facilities and really getting out there and sharing our information. It was well, as we can see, it was well received, and that was the outcome.
It was very, very purposeful, because if you remember, I shared with you that we lost a lot of students to the Family Empowerment Scholarship who were in kindergarten, who'd never been in our schools yet.
Yeah.
So we really want to try to do all that we can to introduce them to the quality programming that we offer and get them enrolled early.
Yes.
And Carmen's team was very strategic.
Just real quick, tell me what happens, let's say you do one of these applications, you get into a school choice as a kindergarten. You have to go through this process the next year once you're, okay.
Our second strategy was to create and distribute 4 marketing materials, but instead we did 5, and to really rebrand and promote our educational options. And our brand is now this year is that your choice now determines your future. So everything is branded that way. I have some copies for you so you can see, like, for example, the PowerPoint presentation. Dr. Pace opens it up and shares a little bit about our choice movement here in Osceola County numbers, and then we showcase some of our specialty schools, and basically you get to see students in action. It's really a good presentation. I brought for you just a skeleton right here. These are some of the materials that the choice. And I
Giving you
have
lots
a
of
few
paper
more in
here.
here, Dr. Pace, if you would like to pass them out.
But that brings us to
our choice guide for parents. So I get this call from Dr. Pace. She goes, Carmen, I really want our parents to make informed decisions. Right now they're choosing schools and they don't know the right questions to ask. So if you go to page 5, you will see that there are some questions that are very targeted for elementary, middle, and high. That parents can look at those questions, and as they're interviewing schools or visiting schools, those are some questions that they can ask to aid in making that informed decision.
So it just really takes our Choice Parent Guide, which has been online now for a couple of years. We update it annually, use it both electronically and in print, to another step in terms of really helping parents and guiding them to say, don't just go for the flashy sign or the flashy building, but instead really look at what's happening within the walls of the school, who's teaching your children, the types of programming that's there, so that they're making great choices on the basis of information. So Carmen and her team jumped right on it and just did a great job.
So we distributed this at the Choice Fair?
Actually, we just developed this in the last
this
few
is fresh
weeks.
out
It's
the
fresh off the press.
Oh, look
Yeah,
at
you're
this.
getting the first peek.
I love.
We are translating in Spanish also. In a few weeks it will be done. So this is just
awesome.
That's amazing what happens when you engage parents in their own children's education.
I agree.
Careful what you
And also, we have two family resource specialist positions, thanks to Leslie's department. They are working very closely with our department. And basically what they're doing, their primary job is to engage and involve our parents in our communities. They have been reaching out, making phone calls to our parents. They have contacted so far from our fair over 1,000 parents. And just ask, what you thought of the experience. Is there anything we can do better? And basically, I'll tell you that one of the things that came out consistently is that our parents were super impressed with the menu of offerings that we have here in Osceola County.
Once they
If
know.
there's one thing negative that I could say to you, which is not negative in actuality, is that they say that choice fair was packed. Are we going to have a bigger venue this year?
We don't have a bigger venue in Osceola County.
In addition to that, also they are visiting
The
new
rodeo
developments.
ground,
So we have identified so far 27 in the Poinciana area and 25 in St. Cloud. This is at the request of Dr. Pace. And they will be going out there to these new development areas and just sharing information with the sales office and making sure that they have information regarding our schools.
There you go.
Okay.
Great.
And
This is awesome.
tons more,
Good
but
stuff.
we have a short time.
All competition.
All right, thank you, Carmen. It is called competition, and we're up to the challenge. 4C.
4C is about continuing to build on our positive and proactive communication of information to all stakeholders. So our first strategy is to expand, share your great for the good news in the district as we continue to expand our social media, which has definitely been a focus. Our goal is 90 submissions, and again, this is people telling us what's good out in the district and sharing. We're currently at 50, so we're well on our way to meet that goal. We've created new electronic badges for submitters that they can use on their own social media, which has really expanded the reach. And then we are dedicating a small monthly social media buy to expand the reach, and that has really worked. Our second strategy is to increase exposure of our high-impact teacher program. I'm proud to say that 198 teachers were recognized this past fall. We found a $10,000 sponsor, so all the teachers could get gift cards. And we also created new electronic social media badges for the teachers to utilize. And we also live streamed the surprise visits, and that created a lot of excitement and exposure to reach for that program. Our third strategy is to strengthen the delivery of information from the top, and here I want to just point out that Dr. Pace has created a new monthly employee newsletter, and it includes a video on some very timely, important topic to our employees. We include questions and answers and encourage employees to ask the questions so that Dr. Pace can give an answer. We include deals and discounts from local businesses and community organizations and that we partner with to our employees, and then we also include a lot of health and wellness information out to our employees. It's been very well received. And finally, our fourth strategy was to enhance Remind for better communication. So this is our text messaging platform, and it is now for the first time ever synced with Focus. And so we have increased the reach to parents by 300%, and we've increased teacher usage by 53%. And we are continuing in my department to support usage of Remind all the way down to the individual teacher level.
And Dana and her team are always rock stars, and I'm very humble here because she develops our monthly newsletter, and I just
And they are awesome.
help
And
provide.
I get a
the
lot of
topic.
positive feedback, and I can tell you if you're on a school board, and I talk to other school board members, if you're on a school board and you're scared of social media, get over it, because this has been so fantastic for our district. I can't tell you how many times people say, "Man, I love seeing Miss Such and Such on there as a high impact teacher. I had her, or my kids had her, or I love seeing my own kid on there, and my school shared this, or man, I love seeing the high school football updates, or I love seeing the this, or it's all because of social media. So just congratulations, kudos to your team. You've done some fantastic work, and it's awesome.
That brings us into Dr. Straker and 4D. You saw earlier the data form that our REA team has developed in order to help support our schools in the school improvement monitoring and stock take process. This is something that we are now sharing as a best practice through Impact Florida in our visits with other districts. Dr. Straker is helping to lead that work. It's really about supporting the effectiveness of the professional learning communities in all of our schools, but also using the stock take process to truly make the school improvement plan guide the work of what's happening and helping to support students in doing it. So Peter, and then we have a short video that we can share with you.
Thank you, Dr. Chris. Dr. Chris has said it really. This is our second year in the school stock take, and I'm in awe with all the principals and the leadership teams and what they've done this year and how they've transformed the school stock take from last year to one which is now a problem-solving team within schools. We've actually sharing it with Impact Florida, which is Collier County did, Palm Beach, Pasco and Volusia came in December and actually for a whole day and actually visited 2 schools, Gateway High School and Westside K8, to look at our school stock take. So we're getting a state publicity really, because they're coming to look at these for best practices. But I'm not going to say too much about this because I could go on forever and ever about the school stock take. I just want our principals, Dr. Pace and Dr. to say.
Find when you're a principal is, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this. I'm saying the traditional way of using a school improvement plan is in March you start working on it, you create your goals, you look at your data together, and you say this is what we're going to do next year, and then you put it away, and you don't think about it until you're back in March doing it all again.
The stock take process is a series of routines that really helps to make sure that a strategic plan or a school improvement plan comes to full delivery, and it comes from the science of deliverology.
I've been involved in a lot of district initiatives, and by far this one is the best as far as keeping us focused and keeping us on the work of students. It reaches everything. So many initiatives are just a reading initiative or just a math initiative, and you take your eye off of reading and then math falls apart. You take your eye off. This does everything, and it saves me as a principal time that I can then put back into the classroom, because I'm not spending every single week in a leadership team meeting. Once a month we are all going to sit down, we're going to hold ourselves accountable, and we're going to say, where are we and what are our next steps?
So I have a couple questions. You're doing data chat. So what are you using for the data chat?
I don't believe that educating students to the best of our potential and the best of their potential can happen in isolation. It requires a strong team of people with different experiences, different perspectives, different levels of expertise and knowledge to come to the table and really talk about what the needs are. So we bring together our principal and our assistant principals as a team, but we've expanded that school-based leadership team to include our content area coaches, literacy, math, science, our deans who work specifically with students on discipline and attendance, our guidance counselors who are important in making sure that our students' emotional and mental health needs are met, because it takes all of those pieces.
All of my assistant principals and all of my coaches are responsible for a certain aspect of our school. So each one of them has to do their job, and they have to be free, feel free to do that, but also feel the ownership and the power of I'm in charge of this.
I don't feel like I'm chasing down this administrator for this help or this specialist for this help. We kind of sit down, and in one meeting we can be like, all right, here's what we need, and here's all my support all at the same time.
People jump in and help each other in different areas. Hey, I did this and I know how this works and I can support you here. You know, the science coach is going to jump in and she's going to help in an area that really isn't her area, but she knows that she can support in that area. So it becomes very much all of us working towards the same goal of moving our students.
And so I think it takes more than just a couple of people helping to make those decisions, monitor those results, and then take the actions necessary after a stock take to keep us on track.
So through the stock take process, we're able to identify areas that we need to grow, areas of growth. And I know it's successful because the steps that we plan, the next steps that we plan to help with those areas of growth, you can see tangible results where teachers have gotten better, their scores have increased. And that's how I know it works.
We're doing much better than we were, and there's some data that we put into the school improvement plan goal at the beginning of the year last year and the beginning of the year this year, and we've had remarkable drops in the number of students who are scoring level 1s, the number of students with chronic absences. Absences were a big deal for us. We had students with less than 90% attendance, and if they're not here, we can't teach them. Our discipline data has gone down tremendously since we implemented that school safety goal in our school improvement plan. Our teachers are stronger, they're working harder, they're day-to-day, and we've been able to attract teachers that before may not have elected to come to Westside because they know our structures are in place, they know they're going to be supported, and they know that we're all about students and all about student achievement.
The excitement generated, I think, by Impact Florida is that we want to not only look at what's happening in one district or 5 districts, but how can we take that to scale? How can we use what we've learned or what we're learning together to help improve educational outcomes for everybody in this state?
We're very honored, actually, that they came to see us. They came to observe our process, the stock take process that our district puts on to make our school improvement plan a living, breathing document. So they've come in to watch and see how we run our stock take, and then we're going to take them out into the classroom so they can see the stock take pieces in action in our classrooms. So we've identified specifically a goal that we're going to talk about today, and then a classroom in which those pieces are happening so that they can go out and see it.
What we've learned, and particularly what this Impact Florida project is based on, is that we're all better when we work together. And student outcomes can be significantly impacted when we share and learn from each other and then expand that reach throughout the state.
I believe the stock take is the missing part of the school improvement plan. The monitoring, and then taking the monitoring and then acting on it for the next steps and then moving forward has been missing. And for anybody who's watching this movie, this film, I believe that they need to look very carefully at what they're doing with their school improvement plans and maybe look at this model that we're using in Osceola School District and take it on, because it does work.
One of the best compliments I've heard from our board members, even most recently as this past summer, was that they know that I live and breathe the strategic plan, but so does every member of our leadership team, and it works all the way down to the school level. Taking stock takes to the school improvement planning level has again helped to not only build leadership capacity at our schools, but also to make sure that their school improvement documents are not something that sits on the shelf. They are guiding their work and helping to make sure that at the end of the year we have outcomes for kids that are important and everything that they deserve.
So before we wrap up Go Forward, board members, I did want to mention Mr. Hodges is at the table because he also is an important part of Go Forward in terms of winning students back to Osceola Virtual School. Since taking over in June, he's been working very, very hard with his team to wrap his arms around that, move to more full-time teachers as opposed to just adjunct teachers, so we're better able to support students during the day. Still have some work to do there in terms of increasing that enrollment and making sure that our students are choosing OVS over Florida Virtual School when we can, because otherwise we're losing that critical FTE, but Pete and the team are certainly committed to doing that. I also did want to share with the board that this is Dr. Balgobin's last board meeting with us. I almost didn't let him come today. But Dr. Balgobin will be joining Scott's team as his chief of staff next week. So we want to thank her for her tremendous work. That's to Volusia County.
Not talking to anybody else in the room. Don't even think about it.
That's what he's doing. He's over here.
Get out of here trying to recruit all my folks.
Ida, you promised me, Ida. Volusia School Board, I'm coming for you.
And Chairman Soto, if it pleases the board, we've not yet made it through Goal 5 today. I apologize that we went a little bit over in some of our discussions, but I think the discussion was worthwhile and valuable. You can see how committed the team is to working the plan, but also preparing to share this. I think we could probably take 15 to 20 minutes, perhaps in an information portion of our board meeting next month, and get our school five.
Lester just said all schools are safe, and it went like this, and so we're good.
Chairman Sutter, are you okay with that?
I am.
All right, great. Then we'll add it to the agenda.
Trust me, you don't want to go to Volusia.